Okay guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at perfect squares. Okay, now firstly we're going to look at what is a perfect square. I'm going to teach you a shortcut so that you don't have to write it out the long way every time, and then we're going to just practice a few. Okay, now we teach you shortcuts for a reason. We teach you shortcuts so that you don't waste time doing things the long way. You are going to need perfect squares a lot over the next few years, so it's really important that you remember the shortcut. I will tell you right now that I still have students in year 4 who don't know how to do a perfect square. They get it wrong all the time, and what that means is that they lose silly marks. This is something you learn in year 2. You should be able to do this perfectly by year 4, okay? But still they make mistakes, so I want to see you guys get it right. Now, perfect squares. Okay, you know that we have a square means something like x squared. This is a square, and that just means that we have x times x. All right, now we've been looking at binomials, okay, and this is special binomial products. This is shortcuts and special features that we can see. So in this case, instead of x squared, we're going to have a plus b squared. Okay, and we're going to do this, as I said, the long way first. So we know that a plus b squared means a plus b times a plus b. Okay, and if we apply the FOIL principle, then we can work out what this expands to. Okay, so we're going to do this using FOIL first, and then I'm going to teach you the shortcut. Okay, so F for firsts. So a times a plus O for outsides, which I think we were doing in blue. Okay, so A times B plus I for insides, B times A plus L for lasts, B times B. Okay, now if we simplify this, we get a squared plus ab plus. Now some people will be tempted to write ba here, but we remember that we always try to write the variables in alphabetical order. So it should be ab plus b squared. Now hopefully you can all see here that there's something we can simplify, and that is positive ab plus ab. Okay. So that's going to become a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. All right, and I'll tell you right now what they tend to do in year 4. So the kids in year 4, they will see this and they'll go, well, that's a squared plus b squared. Done, simple. Okay, but you can see that a squared plus b squared is not all we get. We actually also get this guy in the middle, 2ab, and that's really important because, as I said, that's the thing that the 4th years tend to forget. Okay, so please, it's not a squared plus b squared. Don't ever do that. All right, now I said I was going to teach you the shortcut, and this is it. Okay, you should be able to see that what we have here, we'll write it out again. So we have a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. I'm going to ask you this a million times by the time you're done with school. All right, so what we have here is we have our first term is going to be the first thing squared here. Okay, our last term, and that's including the plus, is going to be our last term here. Okay, and then in the middle, so we square the first term, we square the last term, and then in between, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these two terms together. So a times b, the first one times the second one, and then you just have to remember that we also need to double it. Okay, so this is our shortcut. If you can remember this formula, you'll be fine. So as an example, if I said to you x plus 3 all squared, so this is a perfect square. Okay, and let's highlight it so we can see what we're looking at here. So our first term is x. Okay, so that means a squared is going to be x squared. All right, let's skip the middle for the moment. Our last term Our second term is plus 3. So if we square plus 3, and that's a little trick there. I've highlighted the plus. It doesn't actually matter for the b squared part, because that's always going to be positive. The last one will always be positive because you've squared something. Okay, it's only the middle one that can be negative. Okay, so plus 3 squared gives you 9. All right, now for the middle, we need to multiply them together, a times b, so 3 times x, 3x, and then we need to double that. So 3 times x doubled becomes 6x. And that's it, we're done. All right, so we can do this really quickly now. If we go, for example, b plus 6 squared, we get first term squared, so b squared is going to be our first term. Our last term is going to be 6 squared, which is 36. And then we multiply them together, 6 times b, which is 6b, and double it, it becomes plus 12b. Okay, if we make one of the terms negative, so for example, let's make it c minus 2. Actually, let's not do 2 because I don't really like it for this. C minus 5 squared. Okay, our first term squared is going to be c squared. Nice and easy. Our last term squared, and as I said, here what we actually have is minus 5 squared, which means minus 5 times minus 5, which becomes 25, and it's positive now because it's a negative times a negative. So we're going to have plus 25. All right, then multiply them together. So minus 5 times c is minus 5c, and double that is minus 10c. And that's it. This is the shortcut. If you can learn this, just going through this process, practice it a few times, you're going to find this really easy. Let's do one more. D minus 7 squared is going to be first term squared, so d squared, last term squared, so 7 squared is 49. Then multiply them together, so minus 7 times d is minus 7d, double it becomes minus 14d. Okay, the only time it gets harder is if we have something different in there. So for example, let's do a different one. 2x plus 3y squared equals. Okay, now when we square our first term, I'm going to write this out the long way, or a slightly longer way first. We have 2x squared, and don't forget the brackets because otherwise you won't be including the 2. Plus, leave the middle for the moment. 3y squared is the same thing, so 3y squared, don't forget the brackets. Then we have to multiply them together, so 2x times 3y, so 2 times 3 is 6xy, so 6xy, double it becomes 12xy. All right, then we just need to simplify. So 2 squared is 4x squared plus 12xy plus 3 squared is 9y squared. Okay, and that's that.